We live? Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome. I call to order the May 23rd meeting of the RA Board of Directors. We've got in the room Director Johnson, Director Santa, Dr. Grywatch, and on the loop I see Director Flashman.
Good evening.
Director Dodd.
Director, help me out. Yes, thank you. I see you, Laurie. Director Dodd, thank you. And do we have Director Farrell? Somebody mentioned you might be on?
Not yet.
Okay. So I believe we've got quorum, correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yes, we've got quorum. Great. On the agenda, the next topic is approval of May 23rd regular board meeting agenda.
I believe there were some updates that Director Juszczyk wanted to get in. She is not with us right now, correct?
She is not correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Travis, before making this motion,
Bless you.
Thank you.
there was a motion that went around in an attempt to get a unanimous vote on Ms. Sinha, and we were going to wait for discussion today to talk with you. Did you have a preference whether that went into the consent calendar or if that moved?
I am fine with that being in the consent calendar.
Okay.
Mike. Thank you. I'm fine with it being in the consent calendar as in that email chain, I voted aye.
Perfect.
So.
Okay. Fantastic. So that would be the one change I wanted to make then. So move to amend the agenda to place the vice chair of the IT committee, Subra Sinha, to the consent calendar instead of just adding that to the consent calendar. That would be the one addition I have.
Do we have a second? Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Director Flashman?
I believe that Director Grywatch was to be appointed to the vice chair of the legal committee, and that would have to be approved by the board. I do not see that on the agenda.
So I will be a part of the volunteer interviews, and then that would go into executive session, which we would then potentially vote coming out of executive session.
I see. Okay.
Unless somebody wanted to move that to the consent calendar, but that's not something I will be doing.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Great. Those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, it's unanimous of all. Okay. So we need to approve the agenda for the May 23rd then. Because you just made.
Yep.
I need a motion of that.
Move to approve the agenda as amended for May 23rd.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yes, Mr.
A
Petrino.
minor request. I was on the May 9th meeting by teleconference, and it's not indicated here.
Okay, thank you. We'll make that correction. Brittany, can you help, please? Thank you, Mr. Petrino.
Okay.
Okay. Any discussion? On the motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Director Dunn. Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, moving forward. Next topic is member comments. I believe we have two. Brittany?
Yes, we have two people signed up for member comments this evening, both of which are online. Mr. Friedrich, you've been asked to unmute. Please state your name and address for the record.
Carl Friedrich, Colson Cluster HOA President.
Thank
You
you.
will have
Believe in
5
the
minutes.
5 minutes? Yeah, thank you. You have 5 minutes, sir.
All right. We're trying. Colson Cluster is trying to close out a long-standing complaint by some of our residents to improve a project that a previous cluster presidency has started, but improperly completed. It was evaluated by some outside experts, including from the Resident Association, and the present boards decided that we should upgrade the rain garden to satisfy the requirements for all the houses. So basically, to put it very simply, we extended this rain garden to cover all the houses that were impacted by it. We developed a plan with the help of Resident Association as well as several commercial contractors. We presented that plan to the residents. I think some of them are here today, and sought their approval. They agreed that this would be a good way to go forward. Then we applied for a DRB application for that plan, and the DRB application had been approved a couple of days ago. Patrick Coffey forwarded it to the secretary of the board of directors for your evaluation. And basically now we are waiting for the contractor to show up, which will be on June 3rd. The work should be completed by June 6th, June 7th. And I hope that that would end this situation in a very, very positive manner, and that the problem would be rectified as requested by the impacted resident. That is all.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. We'll let you know about a decision after the meeting. Is the second one?
Next, we have Rebecca Wingert. Rebecca, you've been asked to unmute. You've got 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Rebecca Wingert, 1600 Wainwright Drive in Reston. I'm speaking today on behalf of my neighbors at 1602 through 1606 Wainwright Drive in regards to the rain garden that our HOA president, Carl Friedrich, just spoke to. We are very, very grateful for the work that he and the HOA have done on this matter. And we understand, as he said, that the DRB has approved their plan to fix the rain garden, which is great news for us. And we understand that the DRB gave the cluster 60 days to complete this project. So we're just requesting that the board postpone its decision on our appeal until its July meeting. So at that time, hopefully the work is complete and everyone can feel good that this issue is resolved. And we just want to make sure that, that it gets done. So would appreciate you delaying your decision.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Just like I stated before, we'll deliberate and we'll let you know about our outcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any more member comments, Brittany?
There are no additional people signed up for member comments this evening.
Move to adopt the consent calendar.
We have seconded by Director Johnson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Okay, that vote is unanimous and motion approved. Thank you. So we have, what's next on the agenda? Approval of minutes from April 25th.
Mr. President, that was under the consent calendar.
Yeah, I don't know. You voted for
Okay,
A and B.
A and B, thank you. We ready for the CEO update?
Yep,
Mr. CEO, Mr. Cummins, are you ready for your CEO update?
I am, thank you.
Are you 100% ready?
I am ready.
Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
So we put together a video last week for you all for tonight. Thank you to our Chief Operating Officer for doing that and the indulgence of the board as I was out of town celebrating my 25th wedding anniversary. A couple of things that I wanted to also mention tonight in addition to what we gave you in the packet and some late breaking news on a couple of things. So over the course of the last 10 days or so, we have a fully executed contract with Lamar. And so I signed that before I left for vacation, so we're all set there. I've been working hard over the last probably 1 to 2 months on our staffing model and how we might be able to provide additional administrative services for the Land Use Committee. I'm in a position that we're going to be able to start executing that as soon as the very next meeting. So I'll be letting the chairperson of the Land Use Committee and the board liaison know that we'll be providing the ability to get the packet put together and the minutes done and that sort of thing. We won't be providing professional and technical advice, meaning all of the normal things that a land use planner would do, because we don't have that skill set on staff, but we're in the middle of a recruitment for that. So I hope to have that position on board no later than July. But at any rate, so that issue has been resolved.
So, Mr. Cummins, just to be clear, the administrative request for the Land Use Committee that was discussed several times and through emails, that is now being resolved?
It's been resolved.
Thank you.
Following up on the board motion regarding meeting minutes and recap, I sent out an email to the board members regarding my most recent meeting with Walter Alcorn, as well as an additional one. Not going to necessarily highlight anything in that, but hopefully that satisfied the board's need, or it was pros in a way that works for everybody, if not continually taking feedback. One thing that has come up for a couple of board members is a desire to have a centralized RA calendar for you all, ideally on Microsoft Outlook or something that's easy. Some of you have mentioned, hey, I've got to go to the RA website to see when the committee that I'm not on or a liaison to is meeting, whether it's elections or PRAC or IT or whatever. So what we're going to do is actually just populate your calendars with the RA meetings, so just RA meetings. So you don't have to go and look at the website to see when the elections committee is meeting or when the PRAC is meeting or whatever. Now, when we do that mechanically, you're going to get a boatload of meeting requests, so don't freak out about that. You'll just see it in your BOD email. It'll all come down, and then we'll populate for the year. So look for that sometime coming up fairly quickly. And then lastly, for CEO update, you saw some things about Lake Thoreau pool opening tomorrow. I just want to remind everybody we sent out separate correspondence that we're having an opening event. If any of you want to come participate, it's going to be fairly quickly after 4 o'clock, photo op, ribbon cutting, that sort of thing before we let everybody in. So feel free to come by. A few of us will say a few words. Walter Alcorn's going to come down, and then we'll do the big opening and let people start jumping in. So that's what I've got for you tonight.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions on the CEO update?
Mac, was there anything surprising, enlightening regarding the wetlands and stream mitigation stuff that we broke out? I see that it's listed here in kind of by category and by fund amount, which is really helpful. Is there anything that you want to allude to, or anything that you want to discuss in more detail regarding some of that stuff? I know that's been a hot topic for us.
Yeah, I think I might turn it over to Peter and maybe even bring up Ed. The big aha moment for me, which is frankly really what I was hoping for, is we're going to be able to use that money for things we've otherwise had to use general assessment money for. Now, the big caveat for everybody is it's still one-time money. It's not an ongoing money, but some of the bigger ticket items that we've had to use assessment money for, this next go-around, we can use that money for relative to some stream mitigation things. Peter, you want to touch on a few of those?
Yeah, I'll be quick. One of the reasons we stuck it in the CEO update for this month is that we brought this to fiscal last week or 2 weeks ago. And sometimes we struggle with the cadence of should fiscal see it, then the board, and how that works. So since we did bring it to fiscal, we wanted to make the board aware tonight. We'll also talk in depth about this next Thursday at our joint meeting with fiscal. But as Max said, the big hump here is that we have figured out how to start spending these funds. We've had some trouble. How much should we save? There's this concept of the CAT fund if something really bad happens. So this is more an update for the board that these funds have become available. We're putting a plan together for how we spend these over the next few years, and we're looking to bring a strategy to the board to approve as part of the budget process.
Thank you. Director Johnson, and then followed by Mr. Petrini.
Along the same lines as the question that was asked about the wetlands, was there anything that was a surprise that came out of the Shadowwood meeting and/or the survey yet? Do you have any preliminary results that you can share with us?
So we did calendar, I think, the Shadowwood conversation for the June 13th meeting, but just some preliminary results. The voting is 50-50, change the name, don't change the name. We did hold our public hearing a few Mondays ago. There were a few attendees, lots of conversation about surveys past, surveys present, why change the name now? Why didn't we do it a few years ago? That kind of thing. There was support in that meeting for changing the name. But the vote is around 50-50. Kara is currently compiling all the online comments, and we plan to have that conversation at the first meeting in June.
Mr. Petrine.
I was going to raise one additional point on the wetlands and stream mitigation credits. There is only a small fraction of one credit left. To date, those have all been unbudgeted items because you couldn't anticipate when you would realize on them or what the value would be. So I mentioned that as the treasurer, that you can't look for this as, hidden income. It just doesn't exist anymore.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Director Flashman, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
You're muted.
Please unmute. Can we unmute?
Sorry for that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
How has it been determined that we can use these funds for other than the repair of damage done to the streams or wetlands?
It hasn't, Erwin, I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. So our plan is to bring forward a plan that uses these funds as an offset in the CIP so that we are using this money that sort of offsets the member assessment on the CIP, but only for stream and wetlands work, not for additional work outside of that. So I'm sorry if that wasn't clear, but the funding will be used for the stream and wetlands purpose.
Okay, but my question is more directed at, have we sought authorization from the governing agencies that oversee the mitigation banks for the use of these credits to assure that we will not have a problem later if we are using them for other than mitigation of damage to the streams and wetlands?
That's correct. That's what we did. That's why it's taken so long, but we did confirm that if we use them for those purposes, we don't have an issue. I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question, but I think that's where we're going.
But you've gone to the agencies that oversee these funds and you've received clearance for that purpose.
That's correct. We've also received clearance from outside counsel to review the agreement and our approach. So we've gone through sort of 3 rounds of review here.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, which is volunteer interviews. But before we do that, I forgot to make a couple comments. And number one, as many of you have heard, Director Perry had an accident, and she is in the hospital. She had surgery today. I talked briefly to Connie Hartke before coming here, and she informed me that the surgery went better than expected, and everything is fine. She will have to go through some physical therapy. And that's the reason that Margaret is not here today. And on behalf of the board, we sent some flowers, and she really appreciated that. And so she's going to be doing well, but that's why she's not here. The second thing that I wanted to bring up was, it is my understanding that both Director Flashman and Director Farrell have got weddings that they're attending to, if I am correct, Erwin? And I want to...
Yes.
Yes, so I wanted to congratulate you. I wanted to congratulate you.
That's not my wedding.
Okay. Well, that's what I've heard, but I know John is attending his daughter's wedding. But again, on behalf of the board, I just want to congratulate you guys on this festive occasion. And the last thing, and Director Dodd, forgive me if you don't want me to say this, but I understand that Lori had an accident today, and that's why she's on Zoom today. I hope you're feeling better, and thank you for attending, for joining us tonight. Yes? Oh, good. Director Juszczyk just joined us. Thank you. Okay, on to the next item, volunteer interviews. And today we have Mr. Grywatch.
You have me.
So Mr. Grywatch was nominated during the last legal committee meeting to serve as the vice chair of the legal committee. And he is here with us for interview.
Yep. So looking to help serve the legal committee as a backup to Jalal in any situations where Jalal couldn't be there. I think a general focus of mine when I look at the legal committee is just as we continue to as I continue to become more familiar with it, and also our group continues to move through the various cases that we oversee. My hope is that we kind of continue to become more consistent. We maintain a level of fairness across the board in how we execute and implement these legal rulings. And efficiency is always key on this stuff too, so that we're able to get through all of the decisions that need to be made on any given meeting. Education is something also that I think is important when talking about the legal committee. I don't have any grand ideas on that. Obviously, this is a vice chair role, but this is just something that I think in general the board, as we look to educate our members and ourselves on some of the various committees and groups that we have, this might be another area that we could focus on later in the year, just to re-educate ourselves on how the legal committee can impact the community and the history behind it. So anyway, open to any questions that anyone has.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Grywatch? I see no questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next item is Treasurer's Report. Mr. Petrine.
Our CFO is going to give the financial.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ed.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so, I did the video and have the slides in the package, so happy to take as many questions as you'd like, or we have the slides queued up if you'd like me to walk through them, but I'll just make a couple high-level comments. I mean, cash continues to be strong. As our treasurer noticed, and my team's been noticing as well, the collections are coming in particularly well this year. Through the end of April, we had collected over 93% of the assessments, versus last year at the same time it was 88% and change, so 5% improvement. I was asking my team if they had some ideas of why the collection have been so much stronger, and they believe there was better communications about it in the beginning and better follow-ups, and also members are more familiar with Member Suite after we've been using that for a couple of years. But it's kind of a good news story that collections are strong and cash is still looking good. I can take any other questions on the stream and wetland credits, but again, we have the CAT fund, which that one, we have to get permission from the Army Corps of Engineers and the Virginia DEQ before we can spend any of it. But the other funds, we got permission from WSSI and outside counsel, well, not permission, but basically their agreement that we are allowed to spend that as long as we hold back 20%. But just to clarify, we aren't going to be spending any of this until at least 2025, and only as whatever you approve as part of the 25 budget that we're going to spend it on, which will be stream and wetland related things. So that helps clarify a little bit. But we'll be talking about that throughout the budget process, probably mostly on CIP kind of things, mainly triple RF things, but could potentially be for CAR for operating fund type projects, but most likely triple RF sort of things related to streams and wetlands. And we'll talk about that as part of the budget process to maybe start spending some of that in 25. But some other notes on the numbers. I mean, the revenues continue to be pretty strong for non-assessment revenues as well. Camp revenues are up compared to where we were expecting, and the expenses have been down. I mean, we're still short a number of staff members that we had in the budget, and we're still working to hire those, but in the meantime, we have been underrunning our expenses. And on the capital side, they're underrunning a little bit, but not too much. And I understand from Chris that he thinks some of that underrun might start to go away. So we'll see how that pans out over the coming months. But, so far looking pretty good on capital. So that's a quick rundown, but happy to take any questions on, anything financial related.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our CFO and treasurer? Yes.
There's a very good chance that I'm not reading or interpreting this correctly, so I'll preface it with that. But the third bullet point under revenue and expenses, collectively, department operating expenses are 11% over the same period last year, but they are 8% below the 2024 budget.
Correct.
So that means as of April 30th, we are running
So
11%.
If you're at the bottom of that page, expenses by department.
Yep.
The 536K that were over last year's 4923, that's 11% more. So we're 11% higher than what we had spent last year. But if you're over to the left a little bit, the negative 483K, we're 483K under budget, which is 8% under budget. So even though we're 11% higher than what we spent last year, we're 8% below the budget for this year.
Does that mean we intentionally were planning to spend 20% more as a?
I guess about 19%.
About 19% more.
Through April, and, we were short a number of SLT members, COO, CFO, Director of Environmental, and, there were some other expenses that got added, so, yeah.
Okay, so just mainly that was going to be the follow-up there. That 20% mainly personnel related, and now that we've closed that gap in a variety of areas, we should see that start to align more clearly with the budget. Okay. Good.
Thank you. Yes.
Anything else?
This is a point of reference, but on the April 25th meeting, Trevor requested that as part of the treasurer's update that we include RA member versus non-RA member breakdown for what has been collected. So I'm just flagging it for the next budget because I don't think I saw it in here.
Okay, sorry about that. Make
All
a
good.
note.
Thank you, Edgy.
Trevor, that's past revenue, right? Specifically past revenue?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Trevor, that's what you wanted, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Sorry, Trevor.
Thank you.
Not Travis.
Thank you. Okay, any other
else?
questions? I have one for you.
Yes, sir.
This is just forward-looking. As you discuss during board meetings about the budgets and things, I would be appreciative if you just give us a synopsis, not too much, of what's coming down the pike. We've got the budget season to start. We're going to go through this workshop and then go through the
Right.
process. Any other things, high-level stuff, that we need to sort of look forward to from your perspective?
Right, do you want me to mention a couple right now?
Please do.
Okay, so we'll have the meeting next Thursday, the joint board fiscal and staff meeting, talking about the CEO's budget priorities. Mac and Pete and myself will talk through some slides on the budget priorities. We'll talk a little bit about the member requests that we've received to date. So far, we've received 61 member suggestions from 25 different members. We won't go through those one by one next Thursday, but they're all going to be included in your packet that comes out tomorrow, so you'll be able to see all those. And what we'll be talking about next Thursday is reminding you that in the June 13th board meeting, that's when the board will decide which of the member suggestions to move forward to committees. And then in the July, I believe it's July 11th, but around then, that board meeting is the board meeting when the board will decide which of the member suggestions will move to get priced and added to the first draft of the budget, which comes out in early September.
Perfect.
That's a couple things coming up.
Good. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, one last round. Any other comments, questions for our treasurer's report? See none. Thank you. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you, everybody.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the land use and comprehensive plan update. Director Juszczyk.
I think I have a couple of things.
Go ahead.
And then maybe Jennifer may want to supplement. Couple of things I wanted to draw the board's attention to. I don't know if you all noticed the patch article that the Coons site over near Tyson's got under contract and I believe sold. I mention that because as we are closely tracking any activity around a potential casino, this was a site that was bantered about even though the would-be developer didn't control it last fall. That obviously would take this site out of play should any potential future casino legislation come back. So we're tracking all the things that were mentioned last fall and applying them, as we go forward. So just mentioning that for everybody. The site-specific plan amendment process, which is the process by which individual properties can propose what most people would call upzoning, but a different land use or different density here in the county. It's an amendment to the comprehensive plan. That process has effectively slowed down. So you may recall you've been getting updates that these things were starting to ramp up and move forward. They've slowed down. The county hasn't necessarily given a good explanation as to why that is. I know the Land Use Committee is tracking that. We are trying to track from an administrative standpoint, and we will certainly raise that issue with Walter the next time we talk to him. One issue we did talk about with Walter that I'll mention during the land use update, you all may recall that we've talked about the PRC zoning, and for those of you that were on the board a little over a year ago may recall that we went to the county and asked, as part of the county planning department work program, that the PRC zoning and any amendments to PRC zoning be added to their work plan. That work plan was supposed to go through the fourth quarter of this year, which is actually right now for them. They work on a fiscal year when they're doing their work planning. They have not made any initiation or started that. So this all ties back to the specific site improvements that are exempted from requiring a PRC plan, which is an issue that's very important to us because it may cost us a fair amount of money if we want to make minor site improvements to some of our pools or tennis courts or so forth and get sucked into the PRC process. So I think I'll report that we did have, I think, a productive conversation with Walter. We also had a productive conversation with county staff on that issue relating to something different than the work plan, meaning we just want to get our stuff approved. So I'm working on two angles on that. How do we get our permits approved with what's called a minor site modification to zoning? Separate from that, we are continuing to follow the PRC zoning, and when something's ready on that and that process gets initiated, we'll be referring it to the Land Use Committee, and we'll, of course, come back and talk to you all on that.
Director Juszczyk, did you have anything that you would like to comment or add?
Mac, do you have the list of things that I sent you for the meeting, or do you want me to go over those?
I think probably have you go over on the ones I didn't hit.
Okay. As we're speaking, a meeting started on the Wheelie Study Group, which is and I don't think you mentioned that, Max, am I correct? Did you mention the Wheelie study?
Jennifer, the quality of audio is not that clear. Can you maybe just raise the volume? That might help.
I'm not sure that I can.
Okay, well, let's try one more time. Yeah.
Is that any better?
Yes, that's better. Yes.
Okay. I'm in a rural area, so it could go in and out.
Yeah.
I don't think that Mac mentioned the Wheelie Avenue Study Group that's coming back. I just want to make sure I'm not repeating because it was hard for me to hear too. But there is a meeting going on tonight for the Wheelie Avenue study, which has been a few years coming, and that is to look at plans. The community has given input. The staff were coming back with a plan for a multimodal approach to Wheelie Avenue from Sunrise Valley Drive up past the development on the north side, which isn't necessarily Sunset, but a little bit farther past that, like around the first North Shore that you come to. So I'm not sure what they were going to discuss, but they just started their meeting a few minutes ago, and we should have a good update for the next meeting. The Land Use Committee had a meeting with one of the SSPA applicants, and I was not in attendance at that meeting because I was traveling. So actually, I might have the best update on that on that one, if there's anything you want to share from that meeting, Bob.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to remember the attorney's name, but she was from Pittleman and represented the desire to rezone that property from a FAR 1.5 to 2.5 to accommodate from 200 to 275 dwelling units. And most of the changes that I understood her to make with the project have to do with the upping the FAR, which essentially is increasing the density and increasing the number of units that will be permitted to be built on that site. As they will typically announce, they are in the early stages of development of the plan. They have not submitted, if I remember correctly, they had not submitted a plan amendment as of the meeting. And I think I will share with you my personal opinion is the plan is pretty banal. It's representative of all of the other 5-story construction in Reston. You could find the same thing in Austin, Texas, and just about everywhere in the United States. It's going to be wooden construction. They are going to have an indoor parking garage, and they are going to permit, if I remember correctly, 0.4 parking spaces per bedroom, which is really interesting. And there was a great deal of discussion on amenities that would be available in the project because they were pitching it as a mixed-use facility, but they had limited the mixed-use part of it to 3,000 square feet, which is pretty small. And they made the overture that they were about a grid of streets to connect Roger Bacon Drive on the east side of Wheelie back to Sunset Hills. And to my knowledge, that is going to be an expensive proposition because the land is shall I say, is got some challenges to put a road on it on an inexpensive basis, and they are not responsible for it. So they can make the pitch that it's going to be there, but they're not going to put any money into it unless the county requires it. So I think that touches on virtually everything that they brought up. Members on the committee brought up making the site more accessible for walking and bikes. The challenge will be, given a 2.5 FAR, getting the sidewalks and whatever bicycling paths they will be able to eke out of the space to fill properly, so it all works out. And this is at the very northern end, as Jennifer mentioned about the Wheelie Avenue road study. It is at the very northern end of that study. So these guys are proclaiming that it's within a walkable distance, and John Farrell was very specific that they're underestimating by a factor of 2 that they're off. So I think I've probably given you a decent, decent idea that.
Thank you. So it's the short story there is it's.
You froze up.
Or she's miming.
Jennifer, you might want to turn off your video.
So some point, the land use committee will bring the board a recommendation, right, on what we would ask the county to do. The last thing that I have on my list is want to make the board aware that on Reston Town Center North, the owners on the east side of Reston Town Center North, or after the memorandum of understanding, all the settlement property. So just remember that the county owns part of Reston Town Center North, and Inova owns the other, and they're in the middle of splitting those parcels. But Inova, in the end of that split, will own the east side of the property, and they've asked for a determination letter regarding the PRC 13 person per acre rules in that zoning, that the 1,000 dwelling units that is written into the comp plan will not exceed the 13 person, or they won't be limited in what they're putting up there by the 13 person per acre, per acre rule in Reston. So we definitely want to keep our eye on that and make sure that the DRB is aware of that movement so that they can keep monitoring it, because it's covenant land and needs to go through the DRB process. So those are the updates. Oh, and South Lakes Drive Park. Mac, I know you know about that one, so since my audio is going crazy, can you just make the board aware of the South Lakes Drive Park that FCPA is doing a new plan for?
Are you talking about the park that's across from the golf course?
They're talking about putting an ADA playground on it.
The ADA playground, Jennifer, is up by the Home Depot, a little bit north of Barron Cameron, FCPA.
I thought when you talked to Bill Bowie, he was talking to you about the South Lakes Drive Park and a playground on it. Or was that something else they were putting on?
Yeah, no, the ADA playground we were talking about was at just north of the Home Depot on the west side of Reston Parkway.
Okay.
Yep.
So then I'll update the board. I'll research it then and update the board. But they're doing FCPA is looking at South Lakes Drive Park, and I can't remember off the top of my head what the proposal. I thought it was a playground, but we'll bring it next time.
We'll look into that. Could you look into that? Okay. Yeah, we'll look into that. Great. Anything else, Jennifer?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Johnson, yes.
Yeah, I had a quick question for Bob, actually. You were talking about the walkability, and they would need to expand by a factor of 2. What is the metrics? What are the metrics used to determine walkability?
Yes. The metrics, it's a radius of a half mile and a mile. Within a half a mile, within a half a mile, the ratio of residential to commercial is, if memory serves me correctly, 50-50. And once you get outside of that, 75 residential, 25 commercial. One last thing I'll say about the presentation was they thought this was a new concept because the apartments are going to be on average 750 square feet to 1,000. So they're looking for single people to rent these places. And the point was made by the committee members that that's not the type of housing that's needed in Reston, particularly at the price points that they're talking about.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Don't see anything. Believe we are ready for going into executive session.
I move to convene into executive session to consider a Covenants Committee appeal, to consult with legal counsel, and to discuss contractual and personnel matters.
Is there a second?
Second.
We don't have contractual. Yeah.
Struck.
Thank you.
Let's try again. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Let's move into executive session.
Hello, this is Peter Lusk, Chief Operating Officer with Reston Association, filling in for Matt Cummins, CEO, for your May 23rd, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Directors CEO update. Our first update is a recap of the Shadowwood Pool renaming process. At the time of this recording, over 350 members interacted with an online survey regarding renaming the pool. The survey closed on Friday, May 17th. In addition to the survey, approximately 2,000 door hangers were hung in the Shadowwood and surrounding neighborhoods to promote the survey. In addition to the survey, staff hosted a listening session at the Walker Nature Center on Monday, May 13th to listen to member comments regarding renaming the pool. Over the next few weeks, staff will review all comments and interactions with the survey and will provide an update to the Board of Directors at the June 13th work session. Don't forget that the Lake Throw Pool ribbon cutting event is coming up on Friday, May 24th at 4:00 p.m. Snow cones will be available for all attendees, in addition to other games, prizes, and fun. We look forward to cutting the ribbon on this new amenity for the community. Staff have been working hard on a strategy for wetlands and stream mitigation credits. In addition to creating our own strategy, staff have been working with outside counsel and wetland study solutions to come up with an agreeable solution for the implementation of these credits. Staff will propose the first use of funds collected from these credits for the 2025 budget, and will be working closely with the Board of Directors to implement this strategy. Our Movies in the Park series returns for 2024 on Saturday, May 18th. A full listing of our movies in the parks are listed here on this slide. We look forward to seeing you in the park this summer. And lastly, as we prepare for pool season, we are finalizing some updates. You can see here the Hunterswood Spa has been fully white coated and is ready for the summer. And the new spray feature at Shadowwood Pool has been installed. We look forward to seeing you at our pools this summer. That is your CEO update for May 23rd, 2024.
Hello, this is Ed Vroom, RA CFO, with our April 2024 financial report. For the period ending April 30th, the association's cash position remains strong. There have been strong camp registrations, and other non-assessment revenue sources are either at or above budget expectations, and operating expenses are below budget as the association continues to recruit for 10 budgeted open positions. Revenues from non-assessment programs and services are 12% above the 2024 budget and 2% ahead of the first 4 months of 2023, even with aquatics revenue being down 55% compared to last year due to the shift to the free recreation passes this year. Collectively, department operating expenses are 11% over the same period last year, but they are 8% below the 2024 budget. Functionally, lower than budgeted people costs account for 70% of the positive variance against the 2024 budget, with year-to-date 2024 costs 9% above their 2023 levels due to several key budgeted hires. Cash available to fund operations and meet current and future capital project needs remains quite strong. Unrestricted cash totaled $13.5 million, up $1.4 million compared to this time last year. Restricted cash totals $11.6 million as of April 30th, $100K above this time last year. Capital assets grew by $3 million net of accumulated depreciation on a year-over-year basis as the association acquired new assets, replaced existing capital assets, and renewed essential amenities. For capital spending as of April 30th, RA had a total of restricted cash and investments of $7.6 million, $7.2 million in RRF funds, and $400K in CARF funds. To date in 2024, a total of $929,000 has been spent, with an estimated additional $4.7 million to be spent on budgeted projects to be completed in 2024 and beyond. That is the end of my report. Thank you very much and have a pleasant evening.
Association Board of Directors certifies to the best of each member's knowledge that only those matters appropriate for executive session of a contractual, not contractual, of relating to covenants, committee appeal, personnel matters, and consultation with counsel were discussed or considered by the board during executive session.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Director Flashman?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right. I move to direct the CEO to send correspondence to Vantage Hill relating to the Craftmark development as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Say aye. Okay. Thank you. It's unanimous. Approved.
I move to defer the Covenants Committee appeal brought against the Colson Cluster Association until the second meeting in September, which is September 26, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We've got one more, I believe, for the Vice Chair of Legal Committee. Let's see here. Yes, go ahead.
I move that Trevor Grywacz be appointed Vice Chair of the Legal Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, all those unanimous. Motion carries.
I'll just abstain, Brittany.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We've got Director Johnson, Director Santa, Director Flashman, Director Dodd, Jack, and myself, and then Director Vice President Grywacz abstained. Motion carries. Thank you. We move to new business, I believe.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, Jen.
Did you guys take care of the IT committee vice chair during the consent calendar?
We did.
Yeah,
Yes, we did.
We did, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, under new business, I wanted to give a little background about a topic that has been put into the June 13 agenda, and I need a motion for that. As you recall, we'd asked the staff to come back June 27th to give us details about info about the election committee and some options and way forward, for future things and so on. And they're supposed to brief us on the 27th, and I understand that they're working on collecting data, analyzing, and looking at things over. I also understand that there was an election committee meeting a couple of days ago, and they're still looking at collecting data. And I believe it would be in our best interest to wait for the June 27th meeting to hear from staff about what they're going to present to the board so that we are very well prepared in terms of our knowledge, our understanding, and what the issues might be. And then instead of getting a brief from the election committee on June 13th, move that to the July 11th work session. That way we'll be much more prepared in terms of giving the election committee staff time to get their information data together. And from our side, we'll have info that we will have received by June 27th. So for that reason, I'm proposing that we move the June 13th election committee brief to the July 11th work session.
Yeah, so
agenda.
Mr. President, I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Okay.
I move to shift the election committee's session with the board to July 11th, to the July 11th working session.
I'll second that.
Director Grywacz,
When-
Vice President Grywacz, I believe you deferred that to that meeting because there was a previous decision for it to come back.
Thank you. Corrected, deferred.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Jack. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. And then we have new business for the May 30 Joint Board of Directors Fiscal Committee. Yes.
Before we approve the June 13th agenda, we need to add member suggestions being presented to the board on the budget calendar that's on the June 13th meeting. It's not added to the calendar, onto this agenda.
Okay.
So that needs to be added to the agenda.
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, probably.
As amended, Tony?
No, you just make the amendment and then approve the amended
Okay.
agenda topics.
Okay.
Good.
So can we do a run through of what
Yep.
the agenda actually is?
Yep.
Brittany, would we be able to put that maybe up on this? Could we go ahead and put the draft agenda up on the screen? That way we could just, for the June 13th meeting, correct? Okay, so as of right now, we have removed item G from this agenda, and it has been deferred to July 11th. And then the second request was on the budget. It was just a full addition, is that correct? Okay, so we'll do that in regular open session, not member comments, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So that will, let's just, for right now, put it in as G instead of Elections Committee.
Right.
Does anybody else have any other additions or edits they would like to make to this agenda? Okay.
Okay.
So I move to approve the June 13th working session agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. What else do we have here?
Need to approve the May 30th joint session for next week, the agenda.
The agenda, yes. Yes.
Brittany, would you mind throwing that up
Yeah,
on the
could you
screen
put
too?
that up, please?
Thank you so much.
Isn't that considered a special meeting?
It is, it's not one of the regular ones.
Yes, it would be a special
Well-
meeting.
Then doesn't Jalal just approve those? Those don't take board approval, or they haven't in the past.
We can call it with 2 days' notice. Yes, normally, but there's no harm in Jalal taking input from the board.
That's exactly my
Yeah.
preference. Yes, I would like to do that because I think it's important to, yeah. Let's put it up there. Yeah, thank you. Any comments on this? Any input? Any feedback? Yes, Jennifer.
I sent an email asking why there is an executive session and a joint meeting with the fiscal committee.
Okay.
The answer to that question is we took last year's agenda and carried
Copy
it
paste.
forward. We typically
So we take it
put
out.
executive sessions on in case you all want them, because it's easier to keep them on and just not do it than to have to add it if you decide you need it, but happy to take it off.
Yeah, we had an emergency. That's why it was on there.
Okay.
But I prefer not to have them on there. We don't need them, especially a joint meeting with another committee.
So Director Juszek, you're suggesting we take it out?
Item E. I would
Okay.
move that we remove item E
Thank
from
you. Yep.
the May 30th agenda.
Okay. I hear a second, and all those in favor? Say aye.
I
Unanimous. Yes, Director Flashman?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to make a comment. Yes, thank you.
No.
Motion carries. Thank you.
I move to approve the May 30th agenda as amended.
Second that as well.
Okay, discussion.
Just one quick thing. We're going to be sending out a video for you all tomorrow on this with a lengthy presentation. We're also going to be sending it to the fiscal committee with the intent of some of the action points being a much smaller thing next week. So just look for all of that with all the materials that come out in the packet.
Thank you. On that motion, those saying aye?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous, motion carries. Thank you very much. I believe, is there anything else that I missed? Wow. Council. You win your bet, right?
We didn't even bet on this.
Oh,
one.
my God.
This might be a record.
This is a record, yes. We've come to the end of our agenda here, and no other business before us. Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.